manufacturing and product development. So very important unit. Till now we have understood how to build a product, what are the procedure you have to follow when finding out the concept idea, selecting all those things. But DFM plays a vital role for producing the product, to build the product in the manufacturing unit. So some criteria you have to keep in mind when you are under the team working for design for manufacturing. So few topics are listed here, what I have already said only. As we are focusing in first topic, like we have to know what are all the DFM methods. So under DFM methods, there are 5 points, 5 steps involved. From beginning product development life cycle, each and every phases consist of few 7-6 steps. Similarly, for DFM method, there are 5-step method along with the iteration. Last class we have started with. Just wait. Right? So remember, we have started with the DFM method, and that 5-step methods are there. Step 1 is estimation of manufacturing cost. That step 1 itself involves lot of sub-steps, okay, lot of analysis part of identifying fixed cost, variable cost, transportation cost. Again, manufacturing cost itself will be divided into 3 categories. What are all the 3 categories? If you remember, it's a direct material cost, direct labor cost, and manufacturing overhead cost. So these are the details you have to know. First, we have discussed about design for manufacturing. What is design for manufacturing? Any product you develop, the product should be customer need, product specified one. Okay, some uniqueness or innovation related information should be inside a product. Okay, so product specifications plays a vital role as well as customer need. So when you are having these 2 factors in your mind, it is acting as a guidance for any concept. ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட்னாவே ஒரு கான்செப்ட் ஐடியா தான். ஒரு கான்செப்ட் ஃபேஸ் ஆஃப் எனி ப்ராடக்ட் டெவலப்மெண்ட், திஸ் 2 are very important. So when you are considering this 2 factor as a guide, when you are undergoing the development activities, the team may identify some customer needs are not satisfied, some difficulty in linking the needs, some difficulty in specifications, specific designs are not issued, or that issues are have to be kept in mind, as not been properly defined. So this is a lot of reasons why we have to focus on design for manufacturing. If this is not satisfied, then no use of producing a product and selling it to the customer. Obviously, it is not going to reach the economic success product. So that only, there is a separate team available. The team name is called as Design for X, where DFX or some methodologies. What they do, the people who are involved in Design for X focus on checking the quality of criteria for a product, whether it is fulfilling the 2 factors. So what are they? What are the quality criteria? Whether the product is the stage of reliability, it is a robust product. Just wait, students. Robust products. It's a serviceability. It's a more to the people. Okay, fine. So if these dozens of quality criteria is satisfied, then Design for manufacturing, which is universal importance, becomes directly addressing the manufacturing cost. Whenever you are undergoing the topic design for manufacturing, first we have to address its manufacturing cost. As you all know, what is manufacturing cost? What we have discussed last class. It comprises of three things: direct material cost, direct labor cost, direct manufacturing overhead cost. Okay. So this cost you address on for design for manufacturing implies many quality criteria. If you are using a good standard parts or components to build the product, obviously it becomes a robust product. If you are going to spend a lot of labor for building the product, integrations or fabrications or molding process to build a product, you are providing good services, many things will be satisfied. Most of the quality criteria are fulfilled. So whenever you are understanding the concept of design for manufacturing, I have already told the general hint, right? What is design for manufacturing? What it mean by design for manufacturing? Optimization of any parts or product component design to create it cheaper and more easily. We have to focus on any innovation done with the optimized parts. You need not to give a complex for the product. Obviously, when you give a complex parts built product, manufacturing cost will be more. Again, you can't imagine that it will surely reach the economic success product. Customer will all buy that complex product. If the cost is more, manufacturing cost is more, cost also will be more. So what is our aim? Working under DFM, we have to focus on optimizing the parts of a product, and component design should be optimized. We have to create it cheaper and more easily. So just wait. So we were discussing these points. So to the point, when you are focusing on design of manufacturing, you have to address the manufacturing cost. What do you mean by manufacturing cost in general? I have told you. It's nothing but sum of cost of all the resources are used to build a product, to consume in the process of making a product. Manufacturing cost is categorized into three types. One is direct material cost, direct labor cost, and manufacturing overhead cost. So any product, you will estimate this manufacturing cost. Before going to produce the product, first you have to do some estimations. Okay. That's why from the concept selection phase itself, development phase itself, most of the people will communicate with the management team members. Why we have to communicate with the management team people? Okay. If you're going to come up with an idea, that idea should satisfy the company's norms, company's manufacturing unit, whether that facility is available or not. Any equipment have to be purchased with the basis of the new ideas put for the product. Okay, many things are there. Specifications are mentioned by the customer, whether that specification are dimensional, fulfilling, molding machines, or the type of equipments are available or not. That's why starting from development stage, planning stage, then concept selection stage, then architecture stage, or industrial design stage, all the stages, manufacturing design team will have proper communications with all the activity involved for the product development life cycle. This you have to keep in mind. Okay, so just wait. So manufacturing cost, you have to understand, it is acting as a key determinant of the economic success of a product. Why manufacturing cost is acting as a key determinant? As you all know, it is categorized into three types: direct material cost, direct labor cost, and manufacturing overhead cost, on basis of how much cost you put for building a product on the part based or component based, as well as you are spending money like overhead money, cost money, like you are buying some equipment for building a product, anything, it will, that quality and the robustness of that product will surely implies the economic success of the product. So manufacturing cost plays a very important role. Okay, when you are estimating the manufacturing cost for any product, it is acting a key determinant for an economic success of a product. What do you mean by economic success? When you will reach that economic success, when it depends on the profit margin. So how you will find whether the product you are going to build is going to reach the profit margin? What is that profit margin? Earn on each scale of the product, and how many unit of the product the firm can sell, or how you'll get this idea, how you'll understand this economic success when you undergo or frame estimation for manufacturing cost for a product. You have to understand what is profit margin. As you know, there are a lot of things needed to make a product, so that cost, material cost, labor cost, overhead cost have also to be considered, and the difference between manufacturing selling price. So manufacturers will fix one selling price. So this much equipment we have used to build this product, this much of people we have made to do manual process, automation process, so they will fix one rate. Okay, on basis of that, as well as cost of making the product, like integration, fabrications, purchasing the material from the suppliers. So difference between this will show profit margin. So you're spending that much of money for both the things, manufacturing selling price as well as cost of making the product. Obviously, you are going to reach some profit margin. Okay. They will give some justification for manufacturing selling price and the cost put for building the product. Somewhat we will understand the profit margin. When you depend on this profit margin, the product is fulfilling the profit margin, then you can analyze the economic success of the product. So this is a very important key point. So understand what is this, wait. Understand what is manufacturing selling price. Manufacturer suggests retail price. Or MRP rate போடுவாங்க இல்லையா? So is the price that the product manufacturer recommend it to sold for at point of sale. This also refers to as list price by some retailers. Every retail products can have a MSRP. What is MSRP? Manufacturer's suggested retail price, MSRP. So every product will have that MSRP, though they are frequently used in automobiles mostly. So what are the manufacturing suggested price அப்படின்னு பார்த்தா here comes that. So how do you find the manufacturing selling price? How you will calculate the selling price per unit for your product? Determine the total cost of all the unit purchased. Divide the total cost by the number of unit purchased to get the cost price. Use the selling price formula to calculate the final price. So selling price equal to cost price. How much cost you have put to build that product plus profit margin. Profit margin is the difference between the retailer fixed price and the cost of thing put for building the product, making the product. So when you are working under DFM team, you have to utilize some information that I have already said you, the slides. What are all the team members will have, like the overall product life cycles, concept sketch, drawings, product specifications mentioned by the customer, updated by the company itself, product specifications. If any concepts have to be failed in one case or any architecture have to be failed in one case, you have to have some design alternatives. Those details will be with the DFM. Detailed understanding. Just wait. A detailed understanding of production. What is the sequence or the procedure you have to follow to make a product, starting from a subcomponent to the complex component. Okay, how you're going to integrate or you're going to fix in a part or component. So detailed understanding of the productions and assembly process. For example, automobile companies, if you see, starting from the initial production, first they will build all the inner parts of the car. Okay, then they will give the parts for it, outer parts. So what is the detailed understanding of the productions? Where it have to start, where it have to end. Assembly procedure, which have to be fabricated first which have to be integrated first. All those assembly process. Other assembly process are two types, whether it had to be done in by use of manpower or automated one. All the details will be with the DFM team. Estimation of, very important, addressing the estimation of manufacturing cost. Understanding the direct material cost, direct labor cost and manufacturing overhead cost. Production volume, whether already available framework or setup is enough for producing the product, or you have to build some other extra infrastructure for production. Okay, all those things. Ramp up time, suppose on the beta version of the product, if the customers are in demand of the product, at once how you have to train up the laborers and how to speed up the process. So all the details will be utilized. DFM utilized information of several types. These are the information included in it. DFM is performed throughout the development process, as I have already told, starting from product development, planning stage, concept stage, architecture stage, industrial design stage. DFM begins during the concept development phase itself. Any concepts to be selected, ideas to be selected, it should be supported with the manufacturing unit. If a concept புதுசா நீங்க சொல்றீங்க idea, but that building dimensions or metrics are not supported to the manufacturing unit, equipments or the production unit don't have the tools or something, it becomes a drawback in finding at the end process. So at the beginning itself, they will communicate with the DFM team members. The DFM begins during the concept development phase when the product functions and specifications are being determined. With the respectful of the customer needs statement itself, they'll find out whether it will be a proper procedure to follow this concept or you can drop this concept. So as I have already discussed, the overview of DFM process. Design for manufacturing method begins with estimation of manufacturing. First you have to address the manufacturing cost of the any proposed design. Any product, estimate the manufacturing cost. This will only help the team. When you are estimating the manufacturing cost, you will come to know what are all the direct material costs to be put for a product to build, what are all the direct labor cost, what are all the manufacturing overhead costs. On basis of those details, these team members will find out in which part of these factors we have put more cost. Our ultimate aim is, what is the manufacturing cost we have defined in the net? Ultimate aim is to optimize the parts, to optimize the value, material manufacturing cost value to be cheaper and it should be utilized well. So the team members will focus in finding in which part of it, component or assembly part, procedure or supporting the overhead cost, more cost is put, more costly. What, in which level it becomes more costly. Why the team members focus on those things? Because we have to reduce if we have put more cost. In reducing also, they will follow some procedure. Not at the stretch, component purchase பண்றதுல தான் நிறைய cost போட்டிருக்காங்க. Full component reduce பண்ண முடியாது. Some standard components, okay, can be maintained. ஓகே, ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஒரு ஸ்மார்ட் ஃபோன்ஸுக்கு ஒரு பார்ட்ஸ் வச்சு நீங்க பில்ட் பண்றீங்க. ஒரு இன்டீரியருக்கு ஒரு கலரிங் குடுத்தா தெரிய போறதில்ல. ஸோ அதெல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் அவாய்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம். இஃப் தே ஹேவ் மென்ஷன் இன் த மேனுஃபேக்சரிங் காஸ்ட் லிஸ்ட், பில் ஆஃப் மெட்டீரியல்ஸ் சொல்லுவாங்கல்ல, அதில மிஸ் பண்ணா அதில கொஞ்சம் ரெடியூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். So this team will identify those things, determine at a general level which aspects of the design component or assembly or support are more costly. Again, this team members will focus in appropriate area in subsequent steps. So it will be like an iterative process, and this iterative process will be till the production part started. அது வரைக்கும் ஏதாவது ஒரு விஷயம் கம்மி பண்ணலாமா, ஏதாவது காஸ்ட் நிறைய போட்ட மாதிரி இருக்குன்னா iteration procedure will be followed until the team members accept the manufacturing cost estimation. So product design is improving this basis. DFM iterations may continue even until the product production begins. As you all know, very important 13-mark question under Unit 5, DFM method consists of 5 steps plus iterations. What are the 5 main steps? When you're learning in Unit 5, this estimating the manufacturing cost itself will have a lot of sub-steps. So many things to be considered to put this estimation, to address this manufacturing cost. So completing this will be taking time, but no issues. Try to understand the concept. 13-mark question frequently asked for Unit 5. So thorough with this 5 subheadings along with informations, you can, I'm sure, attend 13 marks or subdivision 6, 7 like that during your final exams. So estimate the manufacturing cost, reduce the cost of, why we have to learn this type of steps, reducing, as you know, manufacturing cost to be optimized to make cheaper. If DFM team has found out in any one part, component or assembly or supporting productions here is like overhead cost. Okay, in that case, if they find anything has been put more costly, we by DFM method we have to reduce it. Reduce the cost of component, reduce the cost of assembly, reduce the cost of supporting production. What are the steps we will understand? Consider the impact of DFM decisions on other factors also. What are all the other factors? We'll come to know when you undergo this step 5 process. Step 1. What is our main focus? Estimate the manufacturing cost. As you all know, for a product to build பண்றதுக்கு what are all the input needed? After utilizing those input, obviously you'll get an output. What type of output you get? So what are the input needed to build the product? You need a raw material, you need a purchased component to fill those raw materials, you need an employee, man labor to do some effort to build the product. Manpower also is needed if you are depending on automations. To operate those machines also you need manpower. So employee efforts, energy, any molding or any process to be proceeded, equipment you are depending on. Some energy force are needed, either hydraulic or mnemonic or mechanical energy force is needed to operate that procedure to make a product. So energy, what type of energy, equipments, what are the needed? These are all acting as an input. So these inputs have to be considered under for estimating the manufacturing cost, because as you all know, manufacturing cost comprises of 3 categories: direct material cost, direct labor cost, manufacturing overhead cost. So input have to be calculated to be taken for manufacturing cost, like raw materials, purchased component, employee effort, energy and equipment. As a result, after implementing all those inputs, you'll get an output of finished goods along with some wastage. Obviously there will be a wastage when you produce any product. That also should be taken into account, wastage. So manufacturing cost total, how to calculate this manufacturing cost is nothing but the sum of all the expenditures you have spent, which are all mentioned here as input of a system, and for disposal of the waste produced by the system. The total information about input and output mentioned here, you can calculate the manufacturing cost. Before calculating or estimating the manufacturing cost, first you have to find the unit manufacturing cost. What do you mean by unit manufacturing cost? Find out the total manufacturing cost based on 1 year or quarter, 6 months production, 1 year production. How much of manufacturing cost spent for building a product? So by the number of unit of product manufacturing during that period, we say it's a unit manufacturing cost. Any doubt till now, students? Kindly reply. Are you all listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Very important diagram and very simple. As you all know, a 5-step method or involved for DFM methodology. For our any proposed design, any product, the follow-up of 5 steps is: step 1, focus on estimating the manufacturing cost. Beginning the manufacturing cost frame பண்ணுவோம். But what you have done in step 1 will not be proceeded till the end. In finding out the manufacturing cost, our ultimate aim is, if we have found any part of that factors put more cost, our aim is to reduce those things. So at the beginning we will find out some inputs, some outputs, totally we will sum it and find out the manufacturing cost. After estimating the manufacturing cost, the step 2 process is to reduce the cost of components. Step 3 process is to reduce the cost of assembly. Step 3 processes 1, 2, 3. Step 4 is reduce the cost of supporting productions. After performing all the 4 steps, we will also consider some impact of DFM decisions on some other factors. Step 5. After completing all the 5-step method, we will have one list of manufacturing cost. So what is that list? You have to find it. Recompute the manufacturing cost. You do that calculation, whether the estimation put now after reducing all the details, whether the computed manufacturing cost is okay or not. Recomputed one. If it is satisfied by the DFM team, it is satisfied by the total product lifecycle management team, everything has been considered, all the values are optimized, it is cheaper and it will be reaching the economic success. If we have understood or analyzed with that manufacturing cost, after doing normalization, we have filtered most of the things. If it is good enough, designs are accepted, it start doing its production part. We will start our production. Suppose they find something again have to be done, some iteration step can be again reduced, unnecessary. During the discussion they would have found, again it will be starting from step 2 process, not step 1, step 2. Because already we have listed, so we will go for step 2. We will again do some iterations, reduce the component, reduce assembly or supporting production. The overall design of manufacturing methodologies. So any product you are going to manufacture, you will follow these inputs to build that product, like raw materials, labor needed to integrate the parts, purchased component from the suppliers ku spend pananum money, when the best suppliers you have to choose, lot of energy you have to depend on, energy level equipments or what type of energy needed for building your product you have to choose. Services, you can demand on some, if you are running a small scale industries, you need some services from large scale industries. Laptops இப்போ பார்த்தா நான் சொன்னேன் ஆல்ரெடி, ஈச் அண்ட் எவ்ரி இண்டஸ்ட்ரியல் டிசைன்ஸுக்கு ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் கம்பெனிஸ் இருப்பாங்க. பேங்கர், ஓலிசிஃபர், மெயின்லி யூஸ் ஃபார் பில்டிங் த ஹார்ட்வேர்ஸ் ஃபார் மெனி மல்டிநேஷ்னல் கம்பெனிஸ். ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி எனி சர்வீசஸ் நீடட், அவங்களுக்கு நம்ம காஸ்ட் ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணணும். Okay, they are giving a standard parts for building our product, so that is also considered parts, component, bill of materials, all are said to be inputs. Tools, any CAM tools you are depending on to use for production level. CAM is used in the manufacturing unit, right? To follow the operation inside the manufacturing unit, procedure, functionality, everything. So all are acting as input. At last you get a final goods and wastage. Before listing all the manufacturing costs, first you have to find the unit manufacturing cost on basis of 3 criteria: component cost, assembly cost and overhead cost. Very simple only. In the product நீங்க பண்ணவும் parts தேவைப்படுது. Parts are other called as components, parts of the products. It includes standard parts purchased from suppliers. There are some vendor suppliers who provide parts to the companies to build the products. What are all the standard parts needed? Have to be considered. Example, standard parts here includes, as we are dealing with the mechanical leaded paper, okay, it's an open electrode paper, PDD. Most of mechanical products only we are discussing in our units. So if you say what type of standard components they will use, like motors, switches, electronic chips and screws. Even for electrical products also you use these things. Okay. Computer related products also, if you want to build, you need a motor or switches, hardware units. So what are all listed as standard components? Again, custom parts are there. Other components are custom parts. What do you mean by custom parts? Made according to the manufacturing design from raw materials. உங்களுக்கு எந்த ஒரு சாஃப்ட்வேரும் ஹார்ட்வேரும் ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் நீங்க ஜஸ்ட் வெரிஃபை பண்ணா ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் காம்பனன்ட்ஸ் ஒரு லிஸ்ட் இருக்கும், கஸ்டம் காம்பனன்ட்ஸ் லிஸ்ட் இருக்கும். ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் காம்பனன்ட்ஸ் எல்லாருமே ஃபாலோ பண்றது. சில கஸ்டமர்ஸ் வந்து எனக்கு இந்த மாதிரி பார்ட்ஸ் தான் வேணும், இந்த மெட்டீரியல்ஸ் தான் வேணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு கேட்கறது, டிமாண்ட் ஆன் டிமாண்ட். ஸோ தட் ஆல் கம்ஸ் அண்டர் கஸ்டம் பார்ட்ஸ். Raw materials like sheet steel, plastic pedals and aluminum bars. இப்போ நிறைய பேர் வந்து இப்போ ஹவுஸ் வந்து இன்டீரியர் செய்கிறாங்கன்னா சில கம்பெனிஸ் they will follow one standard components. That alone they will focus on. Customer satisfaction parts are there. Okay. So that what type of component you choose and that cost is needed to find out the unit manufacturing cost. Some custom components are made by manufacturing own plant. Some extra, large scale industries, they themselves will create this customer components. Okay. Apple have their own components. So others may be depend on some suppliers according to the manufacturing design specifications. Assembly cost. What do you mean by assembly cost? Now, if you are in need of integrating 2 or 3 components, parts, the process of assembling always take in 2 manner. One is labor cost. You are depending on manpower, or sometimes through equipments or tooling, you are doing that automation work. So there are a lot of details about assembly cost. So if you are choosing what type, you have to frame the cost for it. Overhead cost. Most of the companies will not spend in overhead cost, but who are well enough for their names, okay, like Apple, Dell, they give overhead cost, they frame overhead cost. They spend more amount for catching the customer. So overhead cost means is used to encompass all of the other costs. What are all the other costs? 2 types are there overhead cost. Support cost and other indirect elements. Support cost means some companies are financially well enough, or they have a good business strategy. They can afford for support cost. Support cost means material handling. இப்ப ஒரு கம்பெனில ஒர்க் பண்றீங்க, you just imagine HP companies are having assembly cost, like they are depending for assembling the products, both manpower and automation. Automation ஒரே ரோபோட் வச்சு கூட அவங்க பண்றாங்க. இப்போ ஆட்டோமொபைல் இண்டஸ்ட்ரீஸ்லாம் பார்த்தா most of the things are by the machine itself doing the process. அப்போ support cost not all the companies will spend, okay, who are well enough. This support cost means cost associated with material handling. இப்போ மேன் பவர் வச்சு அந்த மெட்டீரியல் ஹேண்டில் பண்ணி அந்த ப்ராசஸ் பண்ணலாம். இல்லை யூ ஆர் ஸ்பெண்டிங் சம் எக்ஸ்ட்ரா காஸ்ட் ஃபார் பையிங் த ரோபோட் ஆர் சம் automated equipments to handle the materials and doing the process. Like that, if you are going to buy an HP laptop, you need not put a separate security hardware, software. They themselves will be buying a best secured software and inbuilt with the product so that it is very catchy for the customer. Okay, it gives also a robustness and standard for the product. So few companies spend the support cost in putting the quality assurance, purchasing some services to promote the product, shipping to இப்போ கஸ்டமர் ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் ஆர்டர் பண்றாங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கு சீக்கிரமா அதை டெலிவர் பண்ணா they are more likable. So not all the companies will spend. Like Flipkartல அப்படிதான் ஷிப்பிங் கொஞ்சம் இந்த ஒன் வீக் டைம்ல உங்களுக்கு ப்ராடக்ட் டெலிவரி ஆகுது. So this is all called as support cost. So what type of methodology or steps they will be following for shipping? Okay, அதுக்கு எவ்வளவு அமௌண்ட் பே பண்ணுவாங்க, அதெல்லாமே வந்து சப்போர்ட் காஸ்ட் வருது. ஏன்னா இதுல ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ற மணி obviously it will help catch more customer, will help for promoting the product well, to build the product well. So receiving facilities, equipment, tools, extra you are putting amount, obviously it is going to be a support cost, not a unsupport cost சொல்ல முடியாது. But some companies only will put this support cost, not all, among others. Okay, so these are the support system required to manufacture the product. ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட்டை பில்ட் பண்றதுக்கு ஹெல்ப் பண்ற ஒரு காஸ்ட் தான் இதெல்லாம். நீங்க போடுறீங்க இந்த காஸ்ட்னா it is going to be a support cost. These costs do greatly depends upon the product design. It is not for small design. இப்போ சின்ன ப்ராடக்ட்டுக்கெல்லாம் வந்து அவங்க இவ்வளவு மணி ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ண போறது இல்லை. If you are running a large scale industries, you are showing the more variety in your product. Like HP எடுத்துக்கிட்டா பிளாட்ஃபார்ம் இண்டிபெண்ட் நிறைய வெரைட்டிஸ் காமிக்கிறாங்க இல்லையா, டாக்குமெண்ட் பிரிண்டர்ல இருந்து. So in that case they will surely put a support cost. Okay, they spend money for this type of product designs. Indirect allowance, already I have told, some companies spend money for indirect allowance to build their business, to speed up the business. Okay, for example, ஒரு குறிப்பிட்ட டெட்லைன் கூட ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் இல்லை ப்ராஜெக்டை முடிச்சு கொடுக்கணும் அப்படின்னா along with the manpower which is already available in the company is not sufficient to complete the product. So some companies buy some contractors or employees for a time being to work temporarily and complete the product design or do the process quickly. So cost of manufacturing that cannot be directly linked. சிலது வந்து அவங்க கம்பெனிக்கும் அதுக்கும் சம்மந்தம் இல்லாத மாதிரி இருக்கும். But for a time period they will spend money to allocate some members to work for their product, to a particular product. But they must be paid for to be in the business. So indirect allowance that I have already given you, shown you the example. Contact workers, consultants to promote your product, to reach many customers. They will communicate with them, or temporary or seasonal employees. So not all the companies will spend for these peoples. Okay, so that's why this type of indirect allowance comes under overhead cost. At last, we have to understand the overall idea about manufacturing cost. It is three types. In general, you have to remember the three categories: direct material cost, direct labor cost, manufacturing overhead cost. Same thing only. Component, assembly, overhead. Component is of two types: standard components, custom component. நீங்க ஒரு சாஃப்ட்வேர் இன்ஸ்டால் பண்ணா கூட ஒரு கஸ்டமர் ஆப்ஷன்ஸ் இருக்கும், ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் ஆப்ஷன்ஸ் இருக்கும், கஸ்டமர் ஆப்ஷன்ஸ் இருக்கும். அக்கார்டிங் டு யுவர் யூசேஜ், அக்கார்டிங் டு யுவர் பிளாட்ஃபார்ம், அக்கார்டிங் டு யுவர் ஐடியாஸ் அது வந்து நம்ம சேஞ்ச் பண்ணிக்கலாம் செட்டிங்ஸ்ல மாதிரி. ஸோ இது ஹார்ட்வேர் ப்ராடக்ட்ஸ் எல்லாத்துக்குமே இருக்கும். Components are of two types: customer, standard and customer. Assembly, two types உங்களுக்கே தெரியும். Using manpower you can assemble the parts through equipments or tooling. Overhead, very simple: support cost and indirect allocations. Then customer ரா மெட்டீரியல்ஸ் பேஸ்டா இருக்கணும். அது எப்படி கேட்டகரைஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க, அது எப்படி ப்ராப்பர்ட்டிஸ் கொடுத்துருப்பாங்க கஸ்டமர் காம்பனன்ட்ஸ்க்கு பேஸ்ட் ஆன் ரா மெட்டீரியல்ஸ், ப்ராசஸிங், டூலிங். எந்த இடத்துல ஒரு சாஃப்ட்வேர் பில்ட் பண்றீங்கன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, அதுக்கு ஒரு ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் காம்பனன்ட்ஸ் கஸ்டமர் காம்பனன்ட்ஸ்க்கு பில்ட் பண்ணிட்டீங்க, கிரியேட் பண்ணிட்டீங்க ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட். இந்த ப்ராடக்ட் வந்து எந்த மாதிரி ரா மெட்டீரியல்ஸ்க்கு சப்போர்ட் பண்ணும் அது வந்து கஸ்டமர் வந்து செட் பண்ணிடுவாங்க. ப்ராசஸிங் எப்படி, எந்த ப்ராசஸிங் நெக்ஸ்ட்டுக்கு பண்ணணும் சொல்லலாம். So these are the elements of manufacturing cost. Transportation cost, this is the last slide I'm going to discuss. This will not come under manufacturing cost. If a manufacturing cost list illa the transportation cost varadu, but you have to consider this transportation cost when you are estimating a manufacturing cost. Yeah ma'am, நம்ம transportation cost யும் நம்ம consider பண்ணனும். You are going to sell your product even in a worldwide or within one country to another country. So in the case you have to understand what is transportation cost. So the model of manufacturing cost you have framed, estimation you have framed, does not include any cost for transportation finished goods because it is a separate area. Okay, transportation finished goods through the distribution system is separate. Estimating the manufacturing cost is separate. இப்போ நீங்கள் ஒரு சென்னையிலே இருக்கீங்க, இஃப் யூ கோயிங் டு ஆர்டர் அ ப்ராடக்டை பற்றி தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும் அப்படின்னா யூ வில் கோ அண்ட் அப்ரோச் இன் ஒன் சென்டர். பட் அதை ப்ரொடியூஸ் பண்ணுறது வேற ஒரு இடத்துல இருக்கும், மேனுஃபேக்சரிங் யூனிட். இதுலேயே இந்த ஹுண்டாய் கம்பெனியை பார்த்தா ஹுண்டாய் சேல் பண்ணுறதுக்கு ஒரு யூனிட் இருக்கும், மேனுஃபேக்சரிங் யூனிட் சென்னையில் வேற இடத்துல இருக்கும். ஓகே, அகைன் டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட்டேஷன் வேற இடத்துல இருக்கும். இப்போ ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் நீங்கள் வந்து வாங்க போறீங்க, ஆர்டர் பண்ணியாச்சு, ஸ்பெசிஃபிகேஷன்ஸ் வச்சு மேனுஃபேக்சரிங் யூனிட்ல பில்ட் பண்ணியாச்சு. அந்த ஃபுல் ஆட்டோ ஏதோ ஹுண்டாய் காரை நீங்க ஆர்டர் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா அகெயின் தட் டீடைல்ஸ் வில் பி சென்ட் டு தட் ப்ரொடக்ஷன்ஸ் வில் பி பாஸ்ட் டு த டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட்டேஷன் finished goods through distribution system. Adu a separate line. Try to understand students. So manufacturing often occur at a location a great distance from the eventual customer. Obviously customer order பண்றது ஒரு இடம், மேனுஃபேக்சர் செய்யற ஒரு இடம், மேனுஃபேக்சர்ல இருந்து போன ப்ராடக்ட் வந்து டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூஷன் சிஸ்டம் மூலமா தான் இட் இஸ் பாஸ்ட் டு அதர் கண்ட்ரிஸ். இப்போ ஹுண்டாய் கம்பெனி ஓட மெயின் பிரான்ச் வில் பி ஃப்ரம் கொரியன்ஸ் ஆர் சம்திங், அங்கிருந்து வரும். So try to understand. Okay, why we have to understand this transportation cost is for goods you create, okay, or transported overseas. Most of the products are through overseas transportation. Water transport மூலமா தான் ஷிப்பிங்ஸ் போயிட்டு இருக்கு. ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் ஷிப்பிங் கண்டெய்னர்ஸ் மூலமா தான் உங்களுக்கு ப்ராடக்ட்ஸ் வந்து ஒரு கண்ட்ரி டு அதர் கண்ட்ரி இட் ஹாஸ் பீன் டிரான்ஸ்ஃபார்ம்ட். ஸோ ஜஸ்ட் இமேஜின், நிறைய படத்துல கூட பார்த்துருப்போம், இந்த ஃபைட் சீன்ஸ்லாம் மோஸ்டா அந்த கார்கோஸ்ல எல்லாம் நடக்கும். Lot of containers, mostly in the harbor or even train, you see a large set of goods, okay, transport goods. Overseas mostly it is happening. So what you have to understand, which holds about 70 cube meters of cargo. அப்ப ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட நீங்க ஒரு லொகேஷன் டு அதர் லொகேஷன்ஸ் நீங்க டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட் பண்றீங்கன்னா அந்த கார்கோக்குள்ள அதை வச்சு நீங்க பண்ணணும். Why you have to understand this transportation cost means, இப்போ இந்த டிஎஃப்எம்ல நம்ம எவ்வளவு காஸ்ட் காம்பனன்ட்ஸ் நம்ம பாக்குறோம், அதை எப்படி பில்ட் பண்றோம் வரைக்கும் அனலைஸ் பண்றது. டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட்டேஷன்ஸ்ல இப்ப கார்கோல நீங்க கிரியேட் பண்ண ப்ராடக்ட் இஸ் நாட் ஃபிக்ஸ்டு மீன்ஸ் இட் இஸ் பியாண்ட் யுவர், அதுதான் சொல்லணும். இப்ப ஒரு கார்கோ வந்து 70 கியூப் மீட்டர்ஸ் ஆஃப் கார்கோ. ஓகே, அப்ப யூ ஜஸ்ட் இமேஜின் these containers are shipped from one location to another at a fixed cost. இது ஃபிக்ஸ்டு. இப்போ ஏசியால இருந்து யுனைடெட் ஸ்டேட்ல இவ்வளவு கியூபிக் மீட்டர்ஸ் ஆஃப் கார்கோ தான் டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட்டேஷன்ஸுக்கு ஃபிக்ஸ்டு. அப்போ உங்க ப்ராடக்டை இதுக்குள்ளதான் நீங்க வச்சு நீங்க அனுப்பணும். ஸோ அதோட காஸ்ட் அப்படி இஃப் யூ கால்குலேட் ரஃப்லி இட் இஸ் அரௌண்ட் 6000 USD. வாட் இஸ் USD? யுனைடெட் ஸ்டேட் டாலர்ஸ். இப்போ இந்தியன் மணிக்கு எவ்வளவு யாராவது சொல்லுங்க? It's around 4 lakhs, right? Yes, 4,49,970. So if you want to transport your goods from Asia to United States, This is a standard. So ஒவ்வொரு கண்ட்ரிக்கும் ஒவ்வொரு ஸ்டாண்டர்டை அவங்க ஃபாலோ பண்ணுவாங்க. Currently, the cost of shipping a container between Asia and United States is roughly this around, resulting in shipping cost rate of 86 USD per meter cube. அப்போ நீங்கள் just imagine பண்ணுங்க, 6,000 you have to pay for one particular part to be built inside that cargo and transferred to the other country. This is how they calculate the transportation cost. So நம்மோட main aim என்னன்னா, along with இது எதுக்கு நம்ம DFMல discuss பண்றோம்னா, DFM method is mainly focusing on optimizing the parts, optimizing the design, optimizing the assembly cost, all those things. So it is surely it is going to helpful for reducing the transportation cost. இப்போ நம்ம டிஎஃப்எம் மெத்தடை ப்ராப்பராக ஃபாலோ பண்ணாமல் ஒரு ப்ராடக்டை நம்ம டிசைன் பண்ணுறோம், ஸ்டார்டிங் டு ப்ரொடியூஸ்னா ஒரு மேனுஃபேக்சர்னா, இட் வில் ஷியர்லி இம்பேக்ட் த டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட்டேஷன் காஸ்ட். ஓகே, ஆப்டிமைஸ் த டிசைன், இட் இஸ் நீட் ஃபார் அஸ் டு டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட் த குட்ஸ் ஃப்ரம் ஒன் நேஷன் டு அதர் நேஷன். ஏன்னா யூ ஜஸ்ட் இமேஜின் ஹவு மச் காஸ்ட் இட் டேக்ஸ் ஃபார் shipping the container product inside the container. So these are all will be impact when you properly follow the DFM methods. This we'll see next class. Fixed cost versus variable cost. இது எதுக்கு தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும்னா, when you are undergoing step 1 process, when you are going to estimate the manufacturing cost, you will frame the bill of materials. எல்லா ப்ராடக்ட்டுக்குமே ஒரு bill of materials இருக்கும். நீங்கள் போயிட்டு நெட்ல சர்ச் பண்ணா கூட ஒரு லேப்டாப்பாக இருக்கட்டும், ஒரு ஹெச்பி லேப்டாப், டெல் லேப்டாப், ஏதாவது ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட் நீங்கள் சர்ச் பண்ணும்போது just find out bill of materials. So bill of materials consists of what are all the parts, components, fixed cost என்ன, variable cost என்ன, அதுக்கப்புறம் equipment cost என்ன, அது மாதிரி நிறைய லிஸ்ட் இருக்கும். So that we will see next class. Any doubt you have? Well, this only I have discussed in for B section. That's why I also winding you for you. Is doubt irukka?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Absentees list Surya anupanga.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, students, for patiently listening. You can leave the session. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.